All set. So on item number 5, we will receive and file that item. On item number 1, we will continue to April 21st. That's the reappointment of Ms. Kimberly Chemerinsky to the Central Los Angeles Area Planning Commission. Item number 2, Mr. O'Farrell here, Councilmember O'Farrell. On his way, so we'll hold that item. Item number 3, staff here on item number 3. And if that could be read into the record, please.
Sure. Item 3, Councilman, is a motion, Fuentes Prize Weezar. It's instructing planning, building, and safety with consultation with the city attorney to prepare an ordinance to establish an urban agriculture incentive zone.
Okay. Staff?
Good afternoon, council members. For the record, this is Katie Peterson with Department of City Planning Code Studies. We have reviewed the summary of the state programs. We're familiar with the state requirements and are prepared to coordinate and to add this to our list of items to work on. We've also reached out to and are in touch with county planning to be ready to coordinate with them when the time comes.
Thank you very much. We have a few speakers on this item. Anisha Hingorani and Elsa Tung. No, not here. Oh, there you are.
Good afternoon, Council Member. My name is Anisha Hingorani, speaking on behalf of the LA Food Policy Council and our Urban Agriculture Working Group. The Urban Agriculture Incentive Zones Act was created at the state level in 2013 with the vision for food and land security, especially for low-income residents. Similar to the long-standing Williamson Act, which protects agricultural land in California, this policy would encourage and protect and preserve community-serving farms and gardens in urban areas. Our colleagues at Community Health Councils has found that LA City is home to 8,600 vacant parcels that could qualify for the Urban Agriculture Incentive Zones. And through our grassroots network, our group has already begun to identify demonstration sites throughout the city that match eligible property owners with urban farmers and community gardens. This policy is in direct alignment with priorities to promote urban agriculture laid out in the recently passed Plan for a Healthy LA and the Mayor's Sustainability Plan released last week. Help LA realize its vision for vibrant and sustainable food growing initiatives by adopting the Urban Agriculture Incentive Zones. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Elsa Tung, Cynthia Huback.
Hello, distinguished council members. My name is Elsa Tung, Policy and Research Manager for the Los Angeles Neighborhood Land Trust. I'm here in strong support of the motion, Council File 141378, to establish urban agriculture incentive zones in accordance with AB 551. Creating urban ag incentive zones here in LA would be a low-cost way to create new green space, especially in the low-income communities of color where we work, and expand access to fresh, healthy foods, micro-enterprise, and green job training. The LA Neighborhood Land Trust thanks for your leadership on this critical issue and looks forward to supporting the future ordinance to establish urban ag incentive zones. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia Huback, Andrew Douglas.
Hello, thank you for your time. My name is Cynthia Huback. I am the founder of the the Elysian Valley Community Garden. It's my private property. I pay property taxes on it. I just wrote a check for $5,000. And it's a pleasure for me to do it. But I would be a beneficiary of AB 551. It would really be a help for property owners like myself who enjoy contributing or like to contribute private land for public use, and it is a tremendous benefit to the county. You get green space, fresh food, recreation, and a sense of community. I am happy to do it. I think this would be a tremendous incentive, though, for other private property owners, so I encourage your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Douglas,
Thank you
Ava
very much.
Post.
Thanks very much for the opportunity. I was on the public record recently before the consideration for the Health for Plan LA on urban ag initiatives, so I'll keep it brief. I just think that this is a wonderful opportunity to create something instead of negate something. I know a lot of the work that is entailed here involves banning certain things or considering these different compromises, but this is really a great thing, and we're working with the county on this, and we have an infrastructure in place to have stewardship over this, and it really resolves a lot of things that go back to the issues concerning the South Central Farm. And if you want to grow food in communities, you really have to work in tandem and in concert with some of these benevolent landowners that are going to be land banking anyway. So thank you for consideration, and we're here.
Thank you. Ava Post.
Hello. I would just like to speak in support of AB 551. Agriculture incentive zones can increase food security, address food deserts, and also serve as sites for education, green space, parks, reconnect people to the environment. And this is a win-win situation for all of those involved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And as was mentioned, this is a motion by Councilmember Fuentes and Price, requesting a report back from planning regarding the possibility of adopting urban agriculture zones to encourage agriculture on vacant, underused land. And the discussion is actually well timed given the city's recent adoption of the Plan for a Healthy LA, our first health and wellness element of the general plan. So if we could move that the Plum Committee approve the motion and send to council for adoption, seconded by Mr. Englander, and with no objection, we will move that item forward to full council. Thank you. Item number 2.
Item 2, Councilman, is a motion by Councilman O'Farrell and yourself. It's directing planning and the housing department to create a policy that will establish a nexus between discretionary land use entitlements and affordable housing.
Okay, welcome. Is staff here? Quick overview. Any issues, concerns?
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Matt Gillespie. I work on housing issues at the Department of City Planning. I think we just very briefly wanted to say we're very eager for this motion to be adopted so we can work with our colleagues in the housing department on fully analyzing this issue and reporting back to the council on an idea that we think has a lot of promise. Obviously, we're facing a huge affordable housing crisis, and we're open to exploring all ideas that could help us get some more affordable housing. So with that, we're open to answer any questions, but we're really eager to start working on this.
Great. Thank you very much. And we have Councilmember O'Farrell here. Welcome, Mr. O'Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Councilmember Englander, colleagues. Thanks for inviting me to say a few words today about this very important initiative. It is well known that Los Angeles is the least affordable city to live in the United States. The numbers are coming in and updated on a regular basis, and they're always going in the wrong direction. It now takes a six-figure income to rent a market rate apartment in the city of Los Angeles. Consider that with the backdrop that the average household income in the city of Los Angeles is around $46,000 a year, and it explains why a modest home on a marginal street in Highland Park will now sell for $1 million. We have a crisis in our city, and we absolutely must move forward to address it very, very directly. And I want to thank you, Mr. Chair, for your eagerness in making sure that we affect a policy that lifts Angelenos, not only helps lift them out of poverty, but keeps them housed. We would like the report to also include recommendations aimed at reducing costs associated with housing production, including streamlined discretionary land use entitlements and flexible alternatives to development requirements such as open space and parking. Many projects seek discretionary land use entitlements, including zone changes, general plan amendments, zone variances, etc., increased density, FAR, height. The existing SB 1818 density bonus ordinance allows for a 35% increase in density, FAR, and height if the project includes 11% of very low income units or 20% low income units. If a project seeks discretionary land use entitlements to permit an increase in density, FAR, or height greater than 35%, there is no standardized method of requiring funding of affordable housing. Some recent individual city plans, such as the Cornfield Arroyo Seco Specific Plan, or CASP, have included value capture policies, setting a low base for FAR and permitting a greater FAR with inclusion of affordable housing. But we need a city-wide policy, as this is a city-wide issue, to ensure that when property owners and developers are granted enormous benefit from the city in the form of increased development rights, that the city as a whole benefits. As opposed to a plan-based value capture policy that only affects a certain geographic area, as I mentioned, this citywide project-based value capture policy would apply to all projects seeking discretionary entitlements above a certain threshold. Nearly all new construction currently is aimed at high-income earners. We also know that vibrant cities include residents of all income levels, and mixed-income neighborhoods are more livable, more thriving neighborhoods. An incentive-based housing policy that seeks to capture some of the value that is granted to developers when they receive discretionary land use entitlements to fund affordable units would help to bolster the affordable housing supply and would not have a negative impact on overall housing production for the city's general fund. And again, we are emphasizing affordable housing on transit corridors. This policy also will not negatively affect our existing low-density residential neighborhood, as the intent is not to encourage more discretionary land use entitlement requests, to put more density in places where density is not appropriate, or to eliminate any levels of community review. The intent is to capture the value that developers have already been receiving, as I mentioned. And just lastly, we have a diminished set of tools to increase our affordable housing stock, as we all know. The dissolution of the CRA areas means that we no longer have tax increment financing contributing to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. The city has effectively gotten out of the business of creating affordable housing and preserving the affordable housing that we're quickly losing at the worst possible time as the crisis is hitting a crescendo. We also are working on new tools, as we all know. That includes enhanced increment financing at the river as a possibility, which includes a very important provision to create low-income housing within that zone. We also know that the mayor announced his sustainability plan last week, which one key component is the production of housing, the preservation of existing affordable units, and the production of new affordable units. We must reestablish a permanent revenue stream for affordable housing, stop bleeding the Affordable Housing Trust Fund dry. Oftentimes, that is the last component that makes a project pencil out that will house our homeless and provide homes for extremely low-income families. We've also lost or reduced our CDBG grants and our Home for Good grants. So since the Great Recession, we've taken a very hard hit. It's affecting the quality of life for all Angelenos, and I think that this value capture policy is one new additional tool that will really help counter the devastating effects that we're seeing across the city in terms of affordable housing. So I thank you again, Mr. Chair, and I hope that we can move forward on this.
Great. Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell, and thank you for your attention to the issues of affordable housing in our city. And this is a great way to go about in terms of actually, as you said, creating a mechanism to incentivize the production of more affordable housing and give the people who want to build affordable housing additional means to do it by saying, hey, let me take advantage of that fast track or less parking, whatever it is that we can get. So thank you so much for your advocacy. Thanks.
Thank you.
Questions, comments? No? Okay. Rich? Yeah. No questions? Mr. Cedillo?
Just a comment. Or do we have public comment?
No public comment.
Just concur with your comments, Mr. Chair. Thank you for bringing this matter to our attention. We do have a crisis. It's a housing crisis. It's not just an affordability crisis unless we consider the entirety of everyone who lives in Los Angeles, because it's not affordable for anyone to live here. College graduates, people who work for the city of Los Angeles, the county of Los Angeles, the state of California. It's not affordable for firefighters, teachers. So what we have really is a housing crisis in which we have to figure out how we're all going to live together. That gets encumbered when we do ICOs that say we don't want any change to our neighborhoods, and the more and more that we do that, then the change and the challenges of meeting that housing takes place in other neighborhoods, not those that are going to be by fiat gated communities through zoning. And so we have to be very candid about this. I appreciate the interest in this, but we have to be candid. You can't on one day come in and say we're going to have height restrictions and then say, but we need more affordable housing. We can't have neighborhood council say we need affordable housing, but not in our neighborhood, right? We can't say that, okay, we want to develop these transit centers, but we don't want anybody to move in who has kids or who's too poor. And so that's the challenge that the city has, is how do we figure out how we can do this and where we do it. Obviously, space is limited, but we have to recognize we're in an urban area. 4 million people live here together in our little city here. And so we have to figure out where are the spaces to do that. And we're going to have to look at going up and building upward and finding the places that are appropriate along the transit corridors to build upward. We're going to have to do a lot of things that require us to realize that we have to make choices and make priorities. And we are fully on board for affordable housing, but we can't think we're going to build our way out of it. We have to also look at the covenants that exist, how we purchase those. And so we have in the housing committee a range of plans that will make it easier for developers to build, and then a range of plans so that we can make sure that we have adequate housing stock for the entirety of the population of the city of Los Angeles. So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you. Mr. Englander.
And I like to add to that. I think in terms of thinking about this in context, to add one of the things that we're working on very closely, Councilmember Cedillo and I as well, is the vulnerable housing we do have, particularly in the risk of a major earthquake, and particularly on soft story and non-concrete, non-ductile buildings, but particularly the soft story, to think about that as well. And I think every time we have this conversation, we should bring that up, because we're urging the state of California to help us financially with that and tax incentives to do that as well. Absolutely. And with that, perhaps Mr. Cedillo and I can also work on another motion for a new ICO, because I know you're against ICOs, but a new ICO that restricts former elected officials, particularly LA City Council members, from moving into CD12, because I got 6 of them now for whatever reason. And let me tell you, they call and complain more than anybody. And so maybe that's something we should spread that out a little bit so you guys feel the pain.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, next item. On this item, we will approve and send to council with no objection.
Adopt the motion.
So ordered.
Mr. Chair, this motion is dually referred to Plum as well as housing. So.
Okay, so that'll move on to housing. Okay, thanks. Thank you. Next item number 4.
Item 4, Councilman, is a communication from CD5. It's revised findings as it relate to a legal case, and this item was previously in committee, in this committee, and the revised findings need to be adopted.
Okay.
And the reason it's back in committee, because it was a notice issue on how it appeared on the agenda.
Thank you.
Honorable members, good afternoon. Jennifer Topkins, City Attorney's Office. We are here today to comply with an interlocutory writ issued in the matter of Lazaroff v. City of LA, commanding the City Council to clarify references to certain evidence supporting its September 10, 2013 findings in support of a height variance for 360 North Stone Canyon in Bel Air. Revised findings that comply with the court's order have been prepared and were submitted to the council file last month. Those findings cite to additional evidence in the record that was before the zoning administrator. We request your action consistent with the court's order, and that you recommend to council that the revised findings be approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Brent?
Yes.
Vern?
Good afternoon. Brant DeVerne. I'm the attorney for the applicant, M&A Gabay. I agree with the city attorney in what she said. We worked very hard to revise the findings, take out the expert declaration by the order of the court, put in the evidence from the detailed technical reports so that it can survive court scrutiny. You have before you the original findings, the new findings, the red line findings that show all the changes. We ask that you approve the findings and send this to council so we can finally get this approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean Bayless?
Good afternoon, council members. Sean Bayless, Planning and Land Use Guy for Council Member Paul Koretz. Just to make this very brief, presented for your consideration are the revised findings for the height variance at 360 North Stone Canyon Road. Per the court-ordered interlocutory writ in Lazaroff v. City of Los Angeles, the interlocutory writ commanded the City Council to clarify ambiguous references to evidence supported in its September 10th, 2013 findings in support for the height variance. To ensure that the council complies with Section 12.27K, Judge O'Donnell ordered the City Council to remove the references to the Liston Declaration from its decision and replace those references with references to the evidence that was before the zoning administrator, such as testimony from council, site maps, and other similar documents. Revised findings reflect those changes to the original findings adopted by council and ask you to approve the modified findings as ordered by Judge O'Donnell. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move to approve and adopt the revised findings and send to full council. Seeing no objections, so ordered. Thank you. We are now going on to the regular agenda and close the special agenda. Regular agenda was scheduled to start at 2:30, and we'll start off with item number 6.
Sure. Item 6, Councilman, is a report from the Cultural Heritage Commission as it relates to the inclusion of the Farmers Insurance headquarters at 4680 Wilshire Boulevard in the list of historic cultural monuments.
Thank you. Welcome.
Yes, good afternoon. Ken Bernstein with Department of City Planning and Office of Historic Resources. The Cultural Heritage Commission has recommended approval of Farmers Insurance Building as a City Historic Cultural Monument. The building was built in 1937. It's a 7-story structure designed by the architecture firm of Walker and Eisen, a very notable Los Angeles architecture firm associated with the design of the Oviatt Building, the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, United Artists Theater, Fine Arts Building, and many other LA landmarks. The Cultural Heritage Commission findings were that the building was significant for its association with Farmers Insurance as its headquarters during the insurance company's period of significance, and secondly, as a significant example of Art Deco style architecture.
Thank you. We have one card. Renee Weitzer from Council District 4.
Good afternoon, council members. Renee Weitzer for Councilman Tom LaBonge. The applicant who filed the application has asked that the application be withdrawn at this time and received and filed, and at a future time they may consider it again. So we would support that request.
All righty. Thank you very much. So we will receive and file this item. No objection, so ordered. Item number 7.
Item 7 is again a report from the Cultural Heritage Commission to include the Wilshire Professional Building at 3875 Wilshire Boulevard in the list of historic cultural monuments.
What we'll do is approve that item on consent. So with no objection, we'll approve that item. And item number 8. Can we ask Chris Robertson from Council District 11? We'll start off here. have a request to continue.
Good afternoon, Chris Robertson, Deputy Director of Land Use and Planning for Councilmember Mike Bonin. We would like to respectfully request a continuance until April 26th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
28th.
28th?
That's correct. Sorry.
That's
28th,
okay.
yes.
So we'll continue item number 8 till the 28th. And did you read that into the record?
Sure. Item 8 is an appeal by 3 appellants, Jay Handel, Al Casas, and Samantha Jerome Chavez. They're appealing the action of the City Planning Commission to approve a new West Charter School in CD 11.
Very much. So we will continue that item till April 28th. Thank you. Item number 9.
Sure. Item 9, Councilman, is an appeal by Serafin Guzman, and he's appealing the action of the West LA APC as it relates to approval of a parcel map for the development of 2 single-family dwellings on 2 separate lots in CD 11.
Is staff here to present on this item?
Hello, council members. John Foreman with the Los Angeles Department of City Planning. This item was a parcel map case for 2 small lot subdivision homes in the Venice Community Plan, and the parcel map contained 2 conditions requiring the applicant to apply for a zoning administrator adjustment for reduced yards. The item did not require the reduced yards because it's a small lot subdivision, which is in the exception section of the code and already allows for lots of 600 square feet instead of the 5,000 square feet typically required for the zone. So the recommendation would be for council to strike condition 8E, which mentions the zoning administrator adjustment, to add language to condition number 14, and to add a finding. We've submitted that language to the city clerk for the council file.
Thank you. Does the city clerk have that language? Do you have the language submitted by the planning department on the condition? Okay. It's been circulated? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. The applicant, Andy Liu. Second, let me see the appellant. Okay.
And you may want to let the appellant go first.
Yeah, and I'm trying to look for their card here. I don't have it. The appellant here on this item?
Yes. Yes.
The appellant. The appellant is not here. Okay. Well, the applicant can go ahead then. And Andy Liu. Go ahead, Mr. The applicant.
Excuse me, Terry Kaufman, Messiah City Attorney's Office. Maybe I could just take this opportunity I just spoke with Mr. Foreman. He just wanted to clarify that the condition is condition 14, not 14E. That's one item. And then the other thing is just to make clear that there was a coastal development permit associated with this project, but it wasn't appealed, so it is not in front of you. This case is governed by the Housing Accountability Act. You may have heard discussion of this before, but it's in the state planning and zoning laws, and it addresses a situation where decision maker may want to disapprove a project or approve it subject to fewer units, and you have to make 2 findings in order to do that. They're very specific findings, and those findings are that the project would have a specific adverse impact on public health and safety, not public health, welfare and safety, but public health and safety. And what that means is that it has to be, the impact has to be significant, quantifiable, direct, and unavoidable. based on an objective, identified, written public health or safety standard or policy. That's one finding. And the other one is there's no feasible method to satisfactorily mitigate or avoid the adverse impact other than disapproval of the project. So as you hear testimony, you'll need to keep those two very specific findings in mind before you make your decision.
Okay, thank you. We found the appellant, Yvonne Guzman.
How much time do I have?
5 minutes.
Okay. Honorable Committee, I would like to respectfully bring to your attention that Section 245 of the City Council veto of board actions of the Los Angeles Municipal Code specifies that actions of boards of commissioners shall become final at the expiration of the next 5 meeting days of the council during which the council has convened in regular sessions. The West Los Angeles Area Planning Commission hearing decision was made on February 4th. The next regular 5 meeting days were February 6th, 10th, 11th, 13th, and 17th. Therefore, it does not meet the Section 245 test. Please concur with the West Los Angeles Area Planning Commission determination to deny the adjustment, thereby denying the project. The applicant waived their right and had an opportunity to challenge the adjustment application and have capitulated to it. Furthermore, there were many issues with this project that must be addressed, which were not determined by their merits, and requires that the project go back to the process and be reviewed in its entirety. Do we get a response to that?
We don't have a back and forth on your public testimony unless one of the committee members is so inclined to ask your question, if whoever a staff member is available at the time. Testimony.
Okay, so but based on the 245 rule, it's been more than 5 meetings, 5 consecutive meetings since the determination was made. And also, so we really shouldn't even be here. I want you all to know that my father just had a heart attack, okay? And this is really taking a big toll on my family, on my community, and on myself. Community members have been to numerous hearings. We went to the area, to the advisory agency hearing. We went to the Area Planning Commission hearing, and we have spent countless hours with this project. This project is not consistent with the Venice Coastal Zone Specific Plan. It's not consistent with the California Coastal Act. The applicant is basically has defrauded the federal government when he obtained an FHA loan as an owner-occupied. They have gone on record and have at least 3 or 4 different owners. So that in itself, you know, so here we are before you today, and they're seeking to defraud City Council now, saying that it's within the specific plan, that the community character is within the character of the neighboring properties. This project is in fact quite a bit larger. If you will look at the charts, there was a handout that was provided to you. Page 41, 47% of the properties on that block have 25% or less of lot coverage. The proposed lot coverage is 97%. So this in itself shows you that this project really doesn't fit in. It is not consistent with what is there as it's supposed to be. Also, the square footage, the units on that block, the 700 block of Sunset, the average, you have, you have 42% of the properties are 1-story, 22% are 2-story, and 12% are 1-story in the front and 2-story in the back. There are no properties on that block that take up the lot coverage that the applicant is proposing. Additionally, let's see, I'm sorry. The proposed development does not consist with the adjacent properties, existing block due to excessive floor area, lot size ratio, lot coverage, mass scale character, the lack of notice, due process, and inaccuracies in the application by the applicant would actually create a precedent. And on Lincoln, on Sunset Avenue between Lincoln and 7th, and it warrants a denial of this project. The appellant seeks relief from the recommendations to adopt the negative declaration, which continues to read 3 units. The project warrants a full EIR due to the cumulative impact, and this and other small lot subdivisions are having on the existing neighborhood. Please deny the project in its entirety. There's so many things that's wrong with this. I'm really flustered today. I just barely made it. Like I said, my father's in the hospital right now, and it's all because of what's going on here. There's so many people that are being affected by this in our community. People are being displaced by the greed. If you take one lot and you buy it for $1.2 million,
I'm sorry, time is up.
And you sell it for 2.4, then this is a no-brainer. Please help the community stop this, please.
Thank you. Andy Liu.
Hi. My name is Andy Liu, and I'm the architect for the project, and I represent the applicants. On planning level, I think this is a very clear-cut, straightforward case. And as a point of fact, our lot coverage is 50%, not 97%, as the appellant has claimed. That's very clearly shown in the case exhibits, in the project plans, in the case file. Okay. We are proposing a 2-unit project, 2 single-family homes on a multi-dwelling lot. Our building height is 5 feet below the limit set by the allowable building envelope, 2 feet below the houses next door, which are owned by the appellant and her daughter. Their houses are 27 feet tall. We're proposing something which is 25 feet tall. Our setbacks are generous. We meet all parking requirements. We have ample open space on the site and abundant landscaping. We put forth what we think is an attractive, varied design that is consistent with neighborhood in scale and in character. As part of the planning process, we've also made an extraordinary number of presentations to the local neighborhood council. In fact, at great cost in time and expense to the project, we made wholesale changes to the project to address the neighborhood council's expressed concerns. In short, this is a project that complies with every zoning and building ordinance, that addresses community concerns, and that will create true good for the community, we believe, in the form of reasonably attainable, well-designed new housing for families. Not surprisingly, the project has won approval at every level of city planning. It's been reviewed and endorsed by the subdivision unit, the Office of Zoning Administration, the Building Department, the Urban Design Studio, the Office of Historical Resources, Bureau of Engineering, the City Attorney's Office, and every other applicable agency. At the appeal hearing, the West LA Planning Commission voted unanimously to approve the project entitlements. However, the same commission did make a mistake. They mistakenly ruled against an adjustment that planning asked us to apply for, but that the project never required. Now, with the full support and backing of Councilman Bonin's office, we ask the council to help us correct the commission's mistake. Councilman Bonin's motion is extremely clear. We simply ask the city to allow a project which its own agencies and planning bodies have repeatedly deemed lawful and which the district council office supports to move forward. You have in front of you a packet with a case summary and exhibits that fully illustrate the project specifics. You'll see the exhibits which compare the project to the neighborhood and to the allowable building envelope. You'll see the difference between our original proposal, which we submitted over 2 years ago, and the revised design that you have in front of you. You will see the Coastal Commission's support of small lot projects in general and the building guidelines contained within the Venice specific plan. And again, our project is a full 5 feet below the height limit set by that specific plan. Our setbacks are well within what's allowed, and so to us, it's pretty cut and dry. Finally, you'll see a copy of the code section clearly stating that the project does not need any kind of adjustment or relief from the code. The appellants will have you believe that this is a case of the rich versus the poor. Others who will speak today will speak against small lot subdivisions generally. But we believe that the project will in fact create more attainable housing in the city of Los Angeles. The small lot subdivision project here will keep the price point of single-family homes down in an area where property values have already skyrocketed. This is not a case of the rich versus poor. The appellants own the 2 buildings directly to the east of us in properties which well exceed $2 million. We're not greedy developers. We are just here to ask the city to allow us the chance to build a fully code-compliant project that has taken every measure possible to be sensitive to its context. And we urge you to let Councilman Bonin's motion go forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sue Kaplan, Lydia Ponce.
How much time do I get?
1 minute. The applicant and the appellants have 5. All other commenters have 1 minute.
But I also understand that if you're a member of the Venice Neighborhood Council, you'll get more.
No, it's 1 minute, ma'am, for everybody.
Oh, gosh. Okay, time is precious here. There's so much to say that's so wrong about this. I urge you to take it back to Planning Commission. They did nothing wrong. They did not err. Even Bonin allows that the errors were made by the planning department and the city attorney. We were never given any explanation about why those were, how they erred. Mr. Liu gives you a lot of presumptions, especially about what we're going to say. What I'm going to say and what I wish I could say is what Venice means to everybody who's been here. I am down here because I have lived in Venice for 20 years now, over 20 years, and this place has given me so much, has drawn me to its neighbors, and you people recognize that when you did the amended baseline mansionization order.
Thank you.
The Venice specific plan is nothing more than that.
Thank you.
Please honor it, send this back to the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Lydia Ponce, Robin Rudisill.
Lydia Ponce. I'd like to say that this particular family that owns the 2 properties next to this proposed property, hardworking family. This man provided for his children, his grandchildren, and there should not be a comparison by any means because the majority of the developers in Venice own multiple properties, have provided for multiple projects. Not one of them are ever affordable, so that's even laughable that he would bring something up like that. We should save the city time and money by just getting a rubber stamp because that's what's happening. I have yet to attend any of these meetings where something is denied. All I'm asking today is that you kick this back so it could be reviewed properly because obviously there is something wrong with the application. My dear friend, Yvonne Guzman and her family would not appeal this. This is not a flighty object. We have things that we need to do. Her father's in the hospital. Might I also say that there is never, ever, ever any kind of application that's followed to the end. Sometimes these findings are ridiculous. It's incomplete, and the paperwork that is following some of these findings is not even substantial to even spell out the name on the architectural design of people who are signing these paperwork.
Thank you.
Please do the right thing and kick it back.
Robin Rudisill. Mark Lipman.
Robin Rudisill. I'm the chair of the Venice LUPC and also a board member. And first I'll have that hat on and present to you these 3 letters from the VNC. Number 1 is our letter recommending denial of this project. The second one, and she'll be passing them around, is regarding that we would request a cumulative environmental impact study on Venice because we found serious negative impacts of projects just like these on the Venice community and neighborhoods. And thirdly, March 25th, the board requested that an internal control ordinance for the Venice coastal zone be drafted by my committee, and we are working on that. But just wanted to inform you that that is in progress. And now with my community member hat on as an individual, I have here a report or response to Andy Liu's Exhibit F regarding comments that were made by the Coastal Commission regarding 664 Sunset, his sort of
Thank you.
sister project. So
time is
please
up.
note them. There are serious problems with that project as there are with this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Lipman, Ilana Morosi.
Good afternoon, Mark Lippman, member of Power People Organized for West Side Renewal. Very quickly, I'd like to speak on why this is being kicked back today. The reason given by our Councilman Mike Bonin is that the specifications of this project for the parcel size do not fit in with this project, because the parcel that is actually on it is smaller than what the requirements are. So basically you're saying because the lot is smaller, we're allowed to have a bigger house on a smaller lot. That's absurd. And I'd like to bring attention to a precedent that our councilman brought up. If he is going to take jurisdiction over items for developers, then under the equal protection of the law, under the 14th Amendment, he's also required to take jurisdiction of this laundry list of projects that were also done faultily by the Planning Commission and the city attorney, all this, because he cannot just side with the developer and not with the people. This has to be taken in effect. And if you remember a month ago,
sir.
I understand. If you remember a month ago, we were here talking about an ICO for Venice.
Thank you very much.
And what happened? This is the reason why we need.
Sir, your time is up. Thank you very much.
This is why we need an interim controller in Venice now.
We try to be respectful, but we usually try to let people finish their thoughts or their sentence. Otherwise, our officers will escort you out of the room. Thank you very much. Ilana Morosi, Renee Cross.
Ilana Morosi. I'm wondering why we're all here today. We Venice residents seem to be spending every single waking, non-working moment defending these cases, which really shouldn't be coming to this point. I don't believe that, as Ms. Guzman said, that we should even be here, because this wasn't brought up within 5 council meetings. So according to 245 section of the city charter, we shouldn't be here. Another thing, according to the city council charter, the effect of the veto, number C, says an action vetoed by the council shall be remanded to the originating board, which board shall have the authority it originally held to take action on the matter. This needs to go back to the Planning Commission. If anything, if they actually truly made an error, it should have and would have been picked up before this stage, surely at that actual commission meeting, especially as city officials and city attorney were present at that commission hearing. Thank you. Also, it's out of mass scale and character.
Renee Cross. Pam Anderson.
My name is Renee Kraus. I'm a 35-year resident of Venice. We just brought you a picture to see how the street will look like. What Ms. Guzman
I'm sorry,
was
sir.
talking
You are Renee Cross?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
And this is the picture here, so you guys can see how the street really looks like. And so this is the street she was talking about, and you know, you can look for yourself. And make the decision if it fits or not, you know, whatever the developer's saying. All right, good.
That's all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good visual. Thank you very much.
Pam Anderson.
Pam Anderson. Chris Fay.
Good morning, council members. I'm just here briefly to speak on what the community wants in the Inter Control Ordinance. Also, to stop the AB and Airbnb. And see, Mike Bonin to respect the people that respect, so CD Mr. Bonin to respect the people that he represents and not to be the big-time developers, Google, Snapfish, and all the other Silicon Valley businesses. Mr. Guzman won a battle in West LA Commission to stop the small lot subdivision and was going to be built next to him on his lot at 758 Sunset. And Mr. Bonin, our representative, area representative in LA City Council, requested a special addendum. You can see the information in the packet. Planning and land use meeting downtown Los Angeles have this project and had heard it again because of the technicalities. Mr. Bonin and his staff continues to state that there is no consensus in Venice community, but the Venice community turned out overwhelmingly against this project and spoke against it, and with great compassion, Mr. Bonin decided to have it heard again. There is a consensus that the community is not being paid attention to by CD11, and that's all. And we ask that you get our councilman to respectfully support his community and listen to us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Chris Fay, Gillis Dannering.
Hi.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Terry Kaufman, Mesilla City Attorney's Office. It seems that you may have lost a quorum, is that correct? Or are there...
Yes, we have. Is this, yes.
So this item, it's an appeal, and it's going to have to be heard at council.
Okay. We will hear it at council.
Yeah, because right now you've lost a quorum. So, okay. I mean, if you want to hear people speak, I guess you can do that, but they'll have to be able to, given an opportunity to speak at council.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Go right ahead.
Before my time starts, can I ask to understand, is this just an opportunity to speak and now it's not official or something? What I'm not.
No, there's a clarification. We've lost quorum in this committee.
I understood that part.
I think, and I suspect it's due to the mayor's state of the speech tonight in the Valley, and my colleagues have started their trek over there. What our city attorney mentioned is that whatever decision is made today on this or any other item will now have a full public comment period in council. Normally, if the item is heard in committee with public comment, there is no public comment in full council, but now there'll be both public comment here and in full council. That is what was made.
Yeah. Thank you. So
I'm sorry, Terry Kaufman, City Attorney's Office. I'm just trying to figure out what the timeline is to see if this can be, if you have time to continue it to next week, but I don't know if you can
Unfortunately, no. This is 2:45, so this will be in council it's in council tomorrow. There's a place.
Yeah, and we'll have a recommendation from the chair, and then it still goes to council. It doesn't mean that it's not heard in council and it doesn't move forward. All it means, it really, the recommendation from the chair is non-binding until there's a full council vote. Okay.
So can I just double check? So the input here is still relevant, but there will be another.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I don't know, are we losing a quorum, or are we've lost a quorum, okay.
That was a yes to my question. It's still relevant here. The input is heard.
It is. It goes in the record, sir. Everything that's said here is in the record, and the official record. The only real difference, as I said, is the public comment. There's one here and one in full council. There will be a recommendation from the chair after this item is heard, and the council takes up the recommendation from the chair as opposed to a yes or no vote from the committee.
Okay, thank you for that.
So, I'm sorry, are we clear that we don't have... Okay.
Yes.
I'm done.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
We're not paying you by the hour either, huh? You still want your... Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity to address you. My name is Chris Fay. I'm here speaking for myself and my wife, Carolyn. I've been a resident in Venice for about 30 years. I've been a property owner in Venice for a little less than 20 years, and I'm here to ask you to deny this project. I'm sorry, should I continue? Yeah. I'm here to ask you to deny the project. the main point I want to make, about the only one I can make in a minute, is it is grossly out of character with the neighborhood with regards to character, mass, and scale. There's a reason we're all here today. We have a bunch of numbers that we can look at. Those numbers are not automatically allowables. Those numbers are maximum, but they should still be. They still need to fit in with the size, scale, and character of the neighborhood. Mr. Liu, it would seem, would have us think that because he's considered it to be one way, he uses words like clear cut and cut and dry. It seems to me he wants to make this committee and all the rest of the city government virtually irrelevant. There is something to be decided here. You are relevant. Thank you.
Thank you. Gila Standering?
Standring, yes. My name is Gila Standring. I'm a longtime Venice resident. And what is basically brought me here is I was absolutely amazed to see how Mr. Boning was actually going against the people that voted for him and brought him into the position that he is. This is not the first time that he is going against the people of Venice when it's come to a construction and building, and even though the city is already disapproved this project, what's going on in Venice is unbelievable. These huge monster buildings, there is no place even for a flower or a tree around us. And over again, Mr. Boning is from nowhere, brings subject that is against the people of Venice, against what we want. We want the lifestyle that we had before, and it's looked like he just totally ignores us, and we're kind of wondering why. And I was wondering if everybody can think, why would a person presenting us will go against us?
Thank you very much. Justin Collard, and then we hear from Representative from Council District 9, Chris Robertson. We have, once the item starts, the time to submit your card has ended. So we have the gentleman here, and then the Chris Robertson from Council District 11. Yes.
Hello, my name is Justin Collard. I'm one of the owners of the property in question and representing it in favor of the project. Obviously, here today, we're not a large development conglomerate. It's myself and a couple others. We have day jobs. We're not from Google or any of the other entities referenced here today. And what we're really trying to do is help the housing shortage of Los Angeles. Venice and all of Los Angeles does have a housing shortage. The only way you're going to get around that is via construction. We've designed 2 tastefully designed units on the property. And as noted earlier by Mr. Liu, both units are actually lower in height than the adjacent properties and do allow green space and open areas around the buildings that are going to be on the lots. I ask for your support for the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Robertson.
Good afternoon, Chris Robertson, Deputy Director of Land Use and Planning for Councilmember Mike Bonin. When this application was originally submitted, the applicant requested a 3-lot small lot subdivision with 3 single-family homes, 3 stories at 30 feet in height. He's presented the project to the Venice Neighborhood Council, who did not support the project, and he took the feedback he got from the community to revise his project to eliminate the 3rd lot, to eliminate the 3rd story, and to bring the building down from 30 feet in height to 25 feet in height. The Planning Department approved the project. It was subsequently appealed to the West Area Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission voted to approve the parcel map, the coastal development permit, but deny the adjustment. After West Area Planning Commission took its action, the applicant questioned the need for the adjustment, and Planning Department confirmed that the adjustment was required in error, specifically because the small lot ordinance allows for smaller lots inherently. So what the applicant has basically is an entitlement to build a project, but a condition that precludes him from doing so because it requires approval of the adjustment, which the city has confirmed is no longer needed. That's why we're here before you today, and we respectfully request that Plum recommend to council, though it's not possible, to amend the conditions and findings as proposed by the Planning Department. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And planning staff, along with your office, is recommending conditions 8E and 14. What numbers were they?
John Foreman, City Planning Department. You're correct, council member. They are 8E and 14.
And 14. And what essentially will they do?
8E eliminates a requirement for reduced yard area, and 14 specifically says that a zoning administrator adjustment for reduced yard area would not be required for the parcel map to be effectuated.
Okay, thank you. So on this item, we will recommend from the chair to full council, there is no quorum, that we remove conditions 8E and 14 and deny the appeal. Is that a partial denial? Is that the correct, appropriate word?
You could do a grant in part, deny in part.
Grant in part, deny in part, and send it to full council with those two conditions being removed in as much as, we'll leave it at that. Thank you.
In as much as the small lot division allows it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So this is a report from the chair to the full council, which will be in full council tomorrow. Okay. Thank you. Next item.
Next item, Councilman, is item 10, is an appeal of the action of the Board of Building and Safety. It's 3 appeals, and the appellants are appealing the application to export 1,638 cubic yards of earth at 3923 through 3941 North Hopevale Drive in CD4.
Yeah, on this item, item number 10, I understand we're okay continuing this to, there's no quorum, so we're okay continuing this item.
I don't think that's the case.
There's no provision for continuing.
I got a note that the applicant was okay with that. No?
Yeah.
No, there's no, I don't know what the last day is on here, but there's no ability to continue past the April 17th, so.
Friday the 17th is the last day for
Okay.
council to act.
So we should hear it today and get it to council. When is it in council?
This is in council tomorrow.
Tomorrow as well. Okay.
Although it's the same caveat that Terry Kaufman, Messiah City Attorney's Office, for all the items for the rest of the day, now that you have a quorum, it's really not, it's just going to be a communication from the chair.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Great. Cora Johnson, Board of Building and Safety Commission Office. We had a public hearing on March 10th for this haul route to export 1,638 cubic yards of earth from the project site. The haul route was approved unanimously, and we did add, in addition to the normal conditions, to reduce the hauling hours to 10:30 to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. And we also revised the maximum limit of 22 hauling days for the project site. And Mr. Tom Henry from the Department of City Planning is present as well if you have any environmental questions.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Tom Henry from the Planning Department. A mitigated negative declaration was published on 12/29 for the haul route application, and was the public commentary for it closed on January 25th. The M&D had 6 mitigation measures that dealt with air pollution, tree protection and replacement, and construction staging. And I'm here to answer any questions that the chair may have in regards to the environmental report, or to answer any questions that might be brought up by the applicant or the appellant.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, Chairman Weezar. I'm Paul Edelman. I'm the Chief of Natural Resources and Planning for the Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority. We're doing this project right and giving the right data. The setting of this project is it's on a cliff, and the road that's leading to it is like a little goat trail. It's next to public parkland, about 4 acres, owned by the Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority, and the trail is a city paper street, and it's a trail used by a lot of people. We want to protect this parkland. Whatever happens with this application will have a big effect on that parkland, a big effect on the trail and its quality. The problem is there are two plans. There's a house grading plan, there's a street grading plan. No one ever looked at both of them. At the Building and Safety Hall route hearing, the Building and Safety staff said, hey, we've never even looked at the numbers. We'll rely on that later. So that's what you have before you, and it wasn't even rebutted. So it looked bad. It seemed wrong to us. We commissioned, the MRCA and a couple of the neighbors commissioned an engineer to look at a study. A report has been submitted to the study, and lo and behold, there's a big differential between the two plans. There's a 4-foot elevation difference, which is huge on this type of project, between the road plan and the house plan. The implications of this are that there could be 4-foot higher retaining walls, and probably are, potentially higher, that the soil export numbers could double, at least they're 50% higher, and it means that the mitigated neg deck has the wrong project description, the wrong export amount, and generally is just all out wrong. There's really not enough known, and the probable outcome is a very different project than what's before you. We're not trying to stop this project, we're trying to have it right and not have the applicant waste the city's time, the community's time, and the MRCA's time. We want to protect the walnut trees that are there, and we want to make sure that there aren't retaining walls that are too big. It's imperative that you come up with that require a plan in this action, the city council, that has the road and the house on the same plan, so we can prove that the elevation difference is in a way that's not going to cause illegal retaining walls, and that the amount of export that they're recommending or saying in there is accurate. We feel it's completely wrong, and our report in the file suggests that. The onus should be on the developer to prove this, and not on our backs. This is, the city had all the time to rebut the engineering report we put in, nothing. And, this is parkland. We're not trying to stop the house, we're trying to protect parkland. Thank you very much.
Hello. My name is Gary Feldman. I believe I'm on the agenda.
One second. What's your name?
Gary Feldman.
Did you fill out a card, sir?
I'm on the agenda.
Okay. What was his name? Gary Feldman, yes. Allison Feltus here? Did you fill out a card? You did? Okay. You're one of the appellants as well?
That's correct.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Allison Feltes. I reside at 3901 Pacheco Drive. And I've been a resident of the community for 20 years. And obviously my appeal seeks to reverse the entire decision by the Board of Building and Safety Commissioners. And my basis on the appeal is based on the current M&D that's on file. I'm currently impacted and aggrieved by the board's decision. Further, I am impacted and damaged personally by the applicant's actions as it pertains to the proposed construction at 3923 through 3941 Hopevale Drive. I've reviewed the documents and specifically the M&D and found the following manners to be deficient and manners at issue. The amount of earth to be exported has been grossly underestimated to garner an approval. My comments reflect much of what Mr. Edelman said in his statement. I reside right across the dirt road and downslope from the proposed project. The current plans that they have today have gone through a spectrum of different changes based on the design. At each turn, we found that the applicant has grossly been inaccurate and underestimated or misrepresented the plans in the project. Over the years, we've seen the applicant submit plans to build 4 houses across 4 lots, then 3 houses against 4 lots, across 4 lots, now a single house against the same 4 lots. And it should be noted that those lots have been rated as geologically unstable hillside lots, not only by the applicant's geological studies, but many studies by the city and the MRCA. So we have extensive questions as to the amount of earth to be exported, we believe that the applicant grossly underestimated. As a matter of fact, when the application was first submitted for the one house again across the 4 lots, it clearly omitted that they would be grading more than 1,000 cubic yards. And I believe it's to really circumvent city processes. As we've gone on, the applicant has continued a pattern of blatant violation of laws as it pertains to construction and laws of the City of Los Angeles. Just a year ago, to circumvent going through city processes, the applicant trespassed on private property and cut down, private homeowners' trees. As a matter of fact, they were California black walnut trees that are covered under the protected tree ordinance. More than 7 trees were cut. At that time, the applicant or the developer was told he was trespassing. He didn't stop to think about it. He kept returning back to the properties. He attempted to return the next day to remove the stumps from the trees he cut the day before. After he was warned by the city to not do any work, and it should be noted, he didn't have any permits to do anything. That was a year ago. This is a year later. He still doesn't have permits, and he continues to come back on the road to attempt to start construction. There's still a porta potty, construction material sitting on the paper road. The trees have been cut under the protected tree ordinance. There wasn't a permit to cut those trees, and the city attorney is currently investigating it. We depend on those trees because we have a huge erosion problem during rainy seasons. We routinely get mudslides. So there's a huge concern not only for the grading, but the stability of the hillside and maintaining the existing structures that are upslope and downslope from the proposed project. So as Mr. Edelman and Dr. Feldman has alluded to, I'm not sure I necessarily want to stop the project, but I want to make sure it's done right. Can I believe now that the applicant and the developer can do that, considering they have a track record of breaching the public trust and continually coming back to break the law? Can they do that now? I don't think so. I don't believe that at this point. But I do think as a start, they need to go back to the drawing board, and I think the negative mitigated declaration needs to be reviewed again against the plans to make sure everything is accurate and that they're held accountable for the current laws that they've broken. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Gary Feldman.
Hi, committee. My name is Gary Feldman. I'm a resident on Hopevale Drive close to the project. And the reason I'm here is about 5 years ago, there was another project on Hopevale Drive that the developers came and skirted a haul route by saying they would export less than 1,000 cubic yards. It turned out, it's documented, it was over 5,000 cubic yards taken from that site. So I went through the expense of commissioning a soils report, and that was submitted to you in a letter from the engineer, and it really does show a discrepancy in both the amount of export and also in the elevation of the road. It's not correct. If the road is indeed 4 feet off, it's going to create further export or higher retaining walls. So we believe the plans submitted are not correct. Also, I'm surprised that Tom Henry is here. I wrote him a letter some time ago stating the great difference between export on the prior project should require them to look at this one a lot closer. I had no response. I do not believe the city did their due diligence in checking. They just accept the soils report. So I understand they can't check every amount, but we have a history on our street of people not being honest. The developers giving the wrong numbers. So on this, we have a soils engineer that documents this great difference, and you should not accept business as usual in this case because we've documented it. We ask that the plans be transparent and that we have a chance to have this appeal accepted.
Thank you. The applicant, Alexander Schwartzman, Brent Butler.
My name is Alex Schwartzman. I'm a contractor.
Speaking to the
I'm a contract for this project. I have.
What's your name?
Alexander Schwartzman.
Okay. Is there a Brent Butler? That's separate, right?
Whatever it says here, it's not true. I have all the...
Okay. Now you have a total of 5 minutes, or you could fill out another card and do 1 minute. So, okay. Thank you.
I have all the permits. I have a permit for the street improvement. Now the public walkway is going through the private property. I have a permits. My calculation for the grading was approved by the building of safety. The tree removal was approved and clear. The street improvement plan was approved and ready to go. So whatever it says, and the calculation of the earthquake, I have to compact the road, which I have to take it from the lot and compact the public road. So I'm just improving the road. I'm not destroying nothing. My retaining walls is no more than 10 feet by the code. Elevation is I continue existing paved driveway. So everything is approved and everything per code and plan.
Thank you. Alton Reed, Cody Penwell.
I'm Alton Reed. I'm a resident in the community as well in the City Council District 4. Come before you on behalf of our neighbors as well. We don't understand how the Board of Building and Safety Commissioners seem to be full speed ahead on this project when there is so much contradictory evidence being presented about major discrepancies in facts presented by the permit seeker. Just the facts don't add up, and we'd hate to see that the council in the building go forward on a set of false facts, who has a record of not following the spirit of the law or the process has been evidenced by other people speaking before me. Therefore, these contradictions are being exposed. More and more of our citizens are raising our concerns about the ability of our city process to protect our neighborhoods. We all are supporting this appeal and urge you to vote against this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cody Penwell, Laila Romani.
Good afternoon. My name is Cody Penwell, and I'm a resident of Pacheco Drive. I am for the appeal and against the project overall. I read through some of the documents and exhibits in this appeal, and I'm appalled to find that the Los Angeles Bureau of Engineers has flagged this property as unstable, which has been corroborated by multiple geological studies and land surveys, some of them giving the land a grade of F on a scale of A through F. I've also found that there is zero evidence of the Board of Building and Safety Commission to evaluate the property individually, nor do I see a rebuttal report to peer claims from the board or any city senior grading official. So I'm just wondering, does the Board of Building and Safety Commission regularly stand in opposition of the Bureau of Engineers and regularly refuse to come and evaluate the site personally? I stand with my neighbors and many other.
Thank you. Laila Romani, David Suber.
Good afternoon. Laila Romani, I'm a house owner in the neighboring area. I just came to give my own personal impact of this situation. In all honesty, I am a misanthrope. I would prefer to have less people in the area. However, how it does affect me is that I am extremely sick. The environmental impact of having dust removed, the noise will affect my day-to-day existence in my home, affecting my ability for quiet enjoyment of my property. So I stand here with all the neighbors and ask that they please repeal this decision and that they do not allow them to affect our neighborhood in this atrocious manner. Thank you.
Thank you. David Suber, Akasa Sung.
Good afternoon. My name is David Serber. I'm a property owner on Hopeville Drive. And I just wanted to bring to your attention the lack of respect that the builders have paid to the neighborhood, bringing in heavy equipment before their permits were approved, leaving construction materials, a porta potty that was mentioned before on the road, and the fact that they. I was up on the trail today on the road, and I measured it with a measuring tape. It's 11 feet wide there, and I just don't see any possibility of how they'd be able to bring heavy equipment in there and do the grading and the development that they need to with 11 feet of road.
Thank you. Casa Sang, Frederick Torres.
Good afternoon, committee members, council. I'd like to present petition letters and on behalf of my neighbors in the Hopeville Canyon. And our major concerns is about the underestimated amount of soil presented in the proposal in the plan, and is greatly underestimated. And as the neighbors, all the neighbors that live in this hillside, we know our real experience. And this real experience is we walk on this trail, and around our neighborhood, the erosion of the hillside is very much a common phenomenon where we constantly have to see the erosion. And that is the part of the hillside where the development is proposed to be built, and it's a geological unstable. And in addition, we have this connection to this walking trail, and the new plan that proposed has not been inconsistent with the old proposal. Means it doesn't show continuity about there going to be enough clearance for us to be able to have access to the walking trail, and the fire truck can have access to this walking trail. And this is really our serious concern. And I thank you so much for hearing our voice. We live here, we have a connection to the walking trail. It's really for the well-being of our neighborhoods. We need this walking trail. We are city-dwelling people. We need to live with the access to the nature. Thank you.
Thank you. Frederick Torres, Daniel Silverberg.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Fred Torres. I live on Cody Road, which is one of the streets that surround our site. And I've been living there for 30 years. And when I went last Sunday to look at the site, I was stunned because I knew geologically when my house was twice surveyed, the geologists told us that the west side of Cody Road is fairly stable because the strata goes down and goes down toward the site in question. So I am questioning very much that a construction here could be very stable without additional reinforcements, which make me doubt that 1,600 square footage, cubic feet. So I hope you to consider that, because also during '94 earthquake, 3 houses on Cody Road were destroyed by the earthquake.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Daniel Silverberg, Luke Freeborn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there have been some good comments here. I'm here speaking for repealing this, not allowing this to go forward. My main concern is the decision to allow the mitigated negative declaration that the Building and Safety Commission did. I've got the definition here on my phone. Revisions that are you do this when, in light of the whole record before the agency, the project may not have a significant effect on the environment. That's the definition. This clearly, by all the evidence, has a significant impact on the environment. I would like the Building and Safety Commission, who's got safety in the name, to explain how they could fast-track this and allow no environmental impact for this project to move forward. That's the main thing. We've had multiple mud flows without any dirt abatement at this so far on this site. I've lived there for 13 years. We've had at least 5 without cutting any dirt away. So
I would like the building and safety to speak to that, and I would like the commission to consider it. Thank you.
Thank you. Luke Freeborn and Jonathan Brand, last speaker.
Thank you for hearing us. I'm one of the property owners that looks at this property and what's about to happen to it. It is a cliffside home, not a hillside, that's about to be done here. If you actually stand there and look at it, it's precarious. It looks like the whole thing's going to come down as it is. So I just want to stand with my neighbors and tell you that it already looks bad. It's going to look a lot worse if this goes through.
Thank you. From CD4, Jonathan Brand.
Good afternoon, Councilman Weezar. Jonathan Brand with CD4. I mean, I certainly understand the skepticism of the neighbors at this case. I've reported several complaints of actions that have happened on the property and adjacent to it, to urban forestry, appropriate departments. This is a haul route hearing. This is to determine the best route and mitigations for trucks that come in and out for excavation. The original approval or original recommendation was for 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Saturday. I recommended to push that back to 10:30 a.m. This area has a lot of traffic with GPS applications, people cutting through to the city, and no weekends. Now, it is my understanding, and perhaps building and safety can weigh in, but if there's a miscalculation and the project is to be different, and there's more excavation than what was approved, they are required to, they will not get a permit. A permit will not be issued. They will be required to go back, get a new MND, and get a new haul route. They will only be allowed to get a permit for what they have been approved. So if there's a miscalculation, there is no project. So, you know, that said, it's just a haul route for the dirt to be hauled in and out. Now, that said, we'd like to add a condition into the record here to ensure that there is access to the MRCA property and require the flagman at the site to ensure that public access to the MRC property remain open during haul route construction. People should have access to this. This is public property. If there's anything that I need to say again, I'm happy to.
So the office's recommendation is what?
It will partially grant the appeal by adding a condition to require the flagman at the site to ensure that public access to the MRC property remain open during haul route construction. I just wanted to reiterate that they have the approval from the Building and Safety Board, and the MND is for a specific amount of dirt, about 1,600 cubic yards. If there is a miscalculation, this is not a permit to do grading. If there is a miscalculation, when they take this to plan check, when they take this to grading, when they take this to the people that do soils, and it turns out that it's 3,000, 10,000, whatever is being charged with, then they will not be able to get a permit. They will have to go back, redo the MND, and redo the haul route. It's not accepted. They will not get a permit. So they have to build. They can only excavate what they are approved for, pending they get permits for it. So if there's a miscalculation, it's coming back, and we'll probably see you again.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry, sir, your time is up. You had your opportunity to speak. There's no...
Mr. Schwartzman only used about 2.5 minutes of the applicant's time.
The time, your opportunity came and went, sir. Sorry, I'm just trying to be fair. People have an opportunity to speak. We call them up. If we would allow that, then every time somebody has a rebuttal, they'd come up after if they didn't use all their time. Is building someone from staff here on this item, please? Thank you. Now, I was a bit confused in listening to public testimony when allegations were made that they were working beyond their hours, they weren't following conditions, but this is a route that's about to be approved. Is some of this work already occurring?
Not that I know of. As far as
Okay.
building and safety is concerned, none of the building and safety permits have been issued yet. The haul route process is the first process before grading permits can be issued and building permits can be issued. Now, if they're doing work on the streets, that's completely separate from the Department of Building and Safety. I'm not aware of that. But as far as the construction on the private property, they don't have any permits yet. The first process is the haul route. And like Jonathan Brand said, if they submitted a haul route application for 1,600 cubic yards, that's all that they can export. If it turns out during the grading plan check process that they are excavating and exporting more than that, they have to do a new MND, they have to do a new haul route hearing, and they won't be able to get any permits or do any construction on the private property until that's done.
Okay, thank you. Now, in some of the public testimony as well, there was questions raised as to whether an M&D was appropriate given the amount of excavating and hauling that would be made. Can you explain that? Why?
Mr. Tom
M&Ds?
Henry from City Planning Crew drafted
Great,
the
thank you.
into that.
Once again, Tom Henry from the Planning Department. The amount of grading of the 1,600 cubic yards, while is quite a lot, it is still within the parameters of, for it being a haul route, that the mitigated negative declaration is the appropriate review that needs to be done for such a case.
Okay, thank you. So that it's within the, is that, those are rules we have, standards, or is that
There's
discretionary?
standards in CEQA. It's a haul route to grade, to build a single-family house in an existing legal lot. Actually, it's over 3 lots that is already with the zoning and everything in place. So the amount of impact weighed with what can be done by right anyway is weighed with that. There are 6 mitigation measures in the M&D plus a series of mitigations with the grading permit that was applied for in the soils report. So even though it is a mitigated negative deck, there are a lot of conditions to cover any adverse impacts that may happen.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. And my last question actually is we're fine, thank you. The CD4 suggested that a condition be added that would require flag people at the site to ensure public access to the MRCA property remain open during haul route construction. Mr. Edelman, is that accurate? It's kind of, the language seems a little bit vague, but would that satisfy the access that is needed to your property there?
It sounds like that's totally unenforceable. It's a good intent, but it sounds unenforceable, given the fact that they're building on a cliff and there's no way I don't think this can be achieved without blocking it at some point. So it's pretty unenforceable.
Okay. Now let me call up. Thank you. Thank you. Building and safety again. I'm sorry. You heard the answer that it's unenforceable. Is it? I mean,
It is not unenforceable. We will have building and safety inspector at the site, and they'll make sure that they're following all the conditions. We've had quite a few complaints regarding these haul routes, and building and safety is pretty serious right now about them following all of the conditions. They will have the flag persons, and there will be an inspector at the site to make sure that they follow all the conditions.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we will take the recommendation from City 4, adopt this condition, and require the flag people. We could amend that instead of. Let me ask this: it says flag men. Is that a term of art in this industry, or could it be flag people? So we'll amend it to say flag people at the site to ensure that public access. You have flag women out there, right? Okay. Flag persons, thank you. Require that flag persons at the site to ensure that public access to MRCA property remain open during haul route, take your pick, construction. And Mr.
So it's grant in part, deny in part.
Yeah, we will grant in part and deny in part, given that new condition. And that is a recommendation from the chair to be heard in full council tomorrow, correct, City Clerk?
Yes.
Tomorrow. This item's going to council tomorrow. Okay. Thank you very much. So ordered. Thank you. Next items.
Next items, Councilman, are items 11 and 12. They're for 2 towers in CD 14. This is a mixed-use project, and one of the projects is on South Olive and South Hill Street. The other one is on South Flower and South Hope Street. They're interrelated, so. And you have appeals by the same entity, Creed.
Okay.
Are you proceeding with these appeals?
Yeah,
Council?
we understand there may have been some discussions about an agreement that this item we will waive from committee now and hear in full council on Friday. Because whether or not any action is taken today, the item is under full consideration on Friday in council. So what we will do is waive both these items out of committee into council on Friday. And did we have a written approval from the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The applicant has submitted extensions for both items for Friday, April 17th.
Okay.
And the meeting of council on Friday, Councilman, it's in Van Nuys.
And the meeting is in Van Nuys on Friday. Okay. Why do people grunt? You don't like the Valley, or it's just a far drive, huh? No, I love the Valley. So we will do that. We will waive it out of committee here on council on Friday. And again, it wouldn't make a difference now if we had the hearing here or in full council because there is no quorum. And I would just urge the parties involved that you continue to discuss and hopefully come up with some agreement and finalize this item. Thank you. Any other business?
Public comment,
Yes.
Councilman?
Public comment?
Yes, sir.
We have 2 cards. Chaplain Willis Buddy Clark, Jr. Chaplain Willis Buddy Clark, Jr. Not here. Gregory Horowitz. Yes, sir.
Hi. I'm really coming just to discuss the drought and land use.
I'm sorry. Shh. Can you, and not to you, sir. I'm trying to get the public so we could hear you. Can you lift the microphone up a bit? Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. That's better.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. I'm just speaking regarding the drought and development. It seems that you're asking all the citizens to curtail their water usage by 20 or 25%, yet when you remove a single-family home and put up a multi-dwelling residence, you're not doing anything to help the problem. And I might remind you that any water that actually does go to water lawns or anything ends up going back into the natural aquifers anyway, which we're pumping and depleting. So it would seem that people who are landscape watering are not doing as much damage as they are, or as this council is when approving more and more dense projects. I live in District 3 and in the Woodland Hills Transportation Corridor at Veriel and Victory. There used to be a couple blocks there that had 20 or 25 single-family homes that now have over 3,000 units, and it just seems to fly in the face of common sense. Really quickly, I did pass out some stuff for you to read and highlighted it. This comes from William Mulholland, who pretty much said no amount of rationing and metering can combat the flow of settlers to Los Angeles Basin. That conservation, he was an advocate of it. Conservation has its limits, but we cannot ration our way out of this drought. And even if it's a temporary moratorium on building, I think you owe it to the greater city to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. So there any other business before us? Oh, man, everybody walked out right away. I was listening, sir. All right, thank you very much. There's no other further business that concludes this meeting unless Roberto wants to continue it. No? Okay. Thank you.